Hey everybody, it is 5 o'clock on New Year's morning and I just got out of jail. I know I just posted on Facebook telling people to watch out for self-sabotage because if you're new to success, you might find it uncomfortable and you might find yourself unintentionally drawing yourself back to, I wouldn't say failure, but less successful places because it's comfortable, it's where you are, it's something you are familiar with. And having just made that post maybe 48 hours ago, 36 hours ago, something like that, I found myself in an Indian casino tonight, standing up on the furniture of the bar, trying to start a civil insurrection against the management and mask wearing. No, I was not drunk. I was not even kind of drunk. But something came over me. We drove all the way from Northwest Arkansas into Oklahoma just to be able to celebrate New Year's normally. And when we got there, we found out that we couldn't even take our masks off to drink, to eat, that we were supposed to take a sip and then put our masks back on our face. And so I just refused, and then when the security came over and told me what had to be done, and then they stood there waiting for me to put my mask on, I said, well, if you're just going to stand here and stare at me, I'm just not going to do it. And that was the beginning. And there must have been 5 or 6 bouncers and the general manager there, and I'm standing up on the furniture yelling at everybody, trying to get them to take their masks off and ask them is this how they really want to go into 2021 as slaves, as being dominated by this whole tyranny. And I mean, everything stopped, which is kind of hard to do in a casino. They're pretty loud, but I just kind of went for it. I don't know why. I don't know why I chose that moment. Someone was recording it, one of the patrons there. I don't know if it's going to end up on YouTube or not. But, sitting in jail, they wanted to actually charge me with assault because I was resisting what they would like to call arrest. I mean, they're security guards. I don't know that they have the right to arrest me. But it took a bit of work to get me into the office where I was handcuffed and taken in a police car to jail and then booked, went through the process. I got my striped jumpsuit and my fluorescent orange flip-flops. And I was fortunate enough to go into the drunk tank where there was only one other person, so it was just he and I. That was better than general population, apparently, so that's nice. And I was only there for a very short time before the bail bondsman came and got me. And I've not really processed this experience yet. I can't say whether or not I made the right choice or not. Something kind of just triggered in me, and I went for it, and I went all the way. So that's my story, and I have to ask myself how much of that is self-sabotage? How much of that is fear of success that might be coming my way? And how much of it was the right moment? I don't know, because on the surface it seems pretty stupid what I did. But when I think about going back to apologize to the management and to the guys that had to struggle to control me and all that kind of stuff, I mean, I got to be honest, they looked kind of foolish in front of everybody. I don't know why it was so hard for them to get control of me, considering my size. But, I mean, they were exhausted. And they had to go through that in front of everybody. They had to go through that in front of their manager. Their manager had to go through that. Now him attempting to charge me with assault, that was just bitterness. And I told him that if he wanted to go that path, that he was going to have some problems, considering that there were cameras filming everything, proving that I never assaulted anybody. So fortunately, I also had a very nice police officer show up after the horrible police officer to control everything, to calm everybody down. He was 62 years old. He's like, man, I've been in the backseat of a police car so many times, you wouldn't believe it. I didn't even join the force until I was 50 years old. And it was a very interesting guy, and we had a long talk on the way to jail, and he was one of the ones that helped me get into a smaller jail instead of being charged with county or state charges. And that was really helpful. Otherwise, I would still be in jail right now. I might be in jail for days. I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't had someone like him there to help me out. And that was very meaningful, and I'm going to make sure that I get a hold of him now. I'd love to go and have lunch with him and hang out, because he's that guy, you know? So, crazy bunch of events. Oh, the black guy. I forgot I have a black eye. That is unrelated, entirely unrelated. This actually happened helping clear trees on my dad's property. I got hit in the face by a tree branch. But you know, when you stand up and make a scene at a casino and you already have a black eye, think about that. Think about that imagery. And then the cops show up and they've got a guy stuck in a corner who is trying to start a civil insurrection inside the casino, and screaming as loud as he can that there's more of us than there are of them, and this is your moment to stand up and have the courage to defend yourself and your rights, and and he's already got a black eye going into it. You're like, sorry, I lost my battery there, so I got to kind of see where I was. I just went through probably 8 minutes of talking that you'll never see because my battery died. Anyway, but the officer has got to be saying, how often is this guy doing this? What's the story with the guy here with the black eye that is starting trouble? Okay, I just found out that about 8 minutes of footage is missing right here, but I didn't realize that until now, which is about an hour later after I took my post-jail shower and changed a little bit, but I think I can fill in some of those blanks. One of the things that I really wanted to talk about is how unexpected this moment was for me, because I've been going through the last couple of days really doing some internal work and just, getting to the soft, gooey, mushy stuff, finding out what's in there, what's holding me back, what these limitations are, these beliefs, these fears, these things that maybe create shame or self-judgment or something like that. And so it puts me in a very open and soft and vulnerable place. And so I told myself, okay, I'll go out tonight with a couple friends and, we'll hang out and we'll, maybe have a drink or two, but just keep it really low profile because I'm feeling very soft, feeling a little sensitive right now. And I don't really want to get out there and party. I don't want to do that. And then this all happened. And it kind of came upon me. And the reason that I wanted to share this is that I have this tendency to think that if I work on the soft underbelly of my psyche, of my emotional base, if I work on integrating the parts of myself that maybe I'm afraid of integrating and acknowledging, then maybe I'll become like this soft kind of guy who can't really stand up for himself or other people when the time is right, because maybe all that fight will be gone. Maybe all of that aggression will be gone when I need it. And obviously that is not the case. In fact, it seems that the more that I work on the softer side and the integration of some of those sensitive things, somehow that balances out that fist that I seem to feel like a lot of times. And when I say balance, I don't mean take the edge off. What I mean is create a counterbalance so that it actually has more power, more leverage. It's not just hopping around on your right leg. You've got a left leg to plant with now when you actually want to kick something. And that's kind of what it's starting to feel like. This was entirely unscripted. This was entirely unplanned. And if you had asked me what the odds of me doing something like this on a night like this, after a couple of days like this, I would have said the lowest. Those would be the lowest odds of me doing something like this, because I'm feeling very peaceful and very loving and very non-warfaring. And this is the kind of thing that it would take a lot for me to do. And I would have to be, prepare myself and get psyched up for a moment like this. And it didn't happen that way. It's possible that the more we integrate our softer shadow side, the more we actually might step into aggression, but from a better place. Instead of being assertive or aggressive because we have something to prove or because we have something to hide in ourselves, we have to, prove that we're not weak. We have to prove that we're not cowards or something. Once we bring all that stuff out, accept ourselves just as we are, even if we are weak, even if we are cowards, and say, I'm going to love that person anyway. It seems that when we act that way toward ourselves with unconditional love, and we don't have anything to prove, then when the assertiveness actually comes up, or the aggression actually comes up, it feels more pure, it feels more righteous, it feels less conflicted, and there's a little less question, hopefully, about why we're choosing this and whether or not it's the right time and place for it. I think I already mentioned that I don't know that this was the right decision. Was that selfish? Was that the right moment? I haven't figured all that stuff out yet, but I'm working on it, and maybe I'll never know. But maybe if there comes another time, and I think that there will be more of these moments happening for me, with me, for other people, and hopefully in groups, was this the right place and time? I don't know. But I don't really have a guilty conscience, but I'm certainly willing to call and make some apologies if I need to. All right, now on to the third part that I had already recorded. There is one more thing I would like to mention, and that is that when I went, the jail experience, it's not great. You're not, when you start going through that, you realize that you really want to choose your moments and decide to do something that might get you put in jail, because it's not great. But one of the great things that I felt in that situation is a real sense of compassion for some of the people that were in there. There was the guy that I was in a cell with, and he'd been locked up for, 7 or 8 hours. And he got locked up in the middle of the day for some kind of inebriation. I don't know if it was alcohol or drugs or what, but they tased him, this thing stuck into his chest, and that's how they got him down. And then there was this, who I thought was a guy, talking and moaning and making a lot of these haunting sounds, these echoing, haunting sounds coming down the hallway from this steel-doored cage that they were in. And you can just hear it coming through the ventilation. You can hear it coming down the hallway, just echoing off the corridors and just talking to themselves in a, not super sane way. And it's just like, oh man, I just, my heart just really goes out for a lot of those people that find themselves in these situations, end up in jail, and, even the ones that get comfortable ending up in jail. And go, oh yeah, here's who you want to talk to. And you just call the DA ahead of time, you work something out. I bet you, oh, this bail bondsman, yeah, he'll take care of you. And you're just going, wow, I'm glad you know this stuff, but I'm also kind of sad that you know this stuff. And they give you a mat that's not much of a mat, and they give you a towel and a blanket with a bunch of holes in it. And just here, that's your floor. That's your concrete floor in the cell. Find a spot. There's your toilet. There's your sink. Here's your cup. Here's your spork. If we don't get this cup and spork back, you will be charged with destruction of property. That's what they told me. You get a little piece of soap, you get some toothpaste, a toothbrush, you get maybe hand sanitizer. I don't know, I think there was one more thing in there. And then they tell you to be careful with your stuff when you go into general population. People are going to want your stuff, might want to trade you for things. And I'm going, this isn't prison. What are you talking about? I'm in this tiny town in Oklahoma, thrown in some local jail, and I got to fight for my blanket that's got holes in it? What? This is crazy. So I never went into general population. And I asked them pretty nicely that I told them it would be very nice if I didn't have to go into that place, if I could have a little cell of my own. I would appreciate it. You don't know really what you're allowed to ask for when you get thrown in jail, like phone privileges and private cells and potty breaks and kind of keep my underwear and things like that. But I did get to keep my underwear, got to keep my socks, so that was luxurious. And got that cell with a very nice fellow who apparently was not so nice about 8 hours before that when he got thrown in. But we had a decent time. It was a pretty good first date. Yeah, but just that feeling I had of just compassion for people who were in this situation and found themselves in jail. Jails aren't very good at what they do. Law enforcement oftentimes isn't that good at what they do. They were talking among themselves, some of the people in the jail, the workers and one of the officers, about, oh, did you hear about that officer who got his car stolen, left the car keys in, and somebody took it and ran it into a wall and left it? And, oh, did you hear about this guy? Oh, did you hear about his thing? And you're going, huh, okay. They charge you with the wrong things. They tell you things that aren't true. Like, oh, you're going to be here for 3 days. You're like, can we make it 2 hours instead? And they're like, I'll think about it, but yeah, probably. You're like, okay, all I had to do was ask. All I had to do was go, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. Hang on a second, I'd like to keep my underwear. You don't want to really have to know all the ins and outs of how to work the correction system in America today. Just keep in mind that if you decide to do something that has the risk of getting you arrested and thrown in jail, that the system isn't necessarily going to respond to you correctly. They're not necessarily going to charge you only for the crimes that you commit. You're not necessarily going to get the officer who doesn't decide to just kick your ass and say, oh, you want to be a tough, oh, you're going to be a tough guy now, huh? Oh, hey, we got a tough guy here. And then you just get your ass kicked because he knows the people that you crossed. And when you're screwing with casinos, bad idea. That was not my best moment to piss off the general manager of a casino and to just, stare him down and look right through him and tell him, you are not going to get your way today. That's a dangerous move. In an Indian casino, the general manager, they know everybody. They know everybody. And if you think that they're not going to do whatever they want and get revenge however they can, you would be mistaken. So when he tried to charge me for assault, that was a really low move. That was criminal, is what he did. His crime to charge me with assault was far greater than any crime I committed. And he didn't care. He just wanted to have his way. So these are just some things to consider when you decide to do something and when you decide to stand your ground, that you might have to deal with consequences that are not fair, that are not equal to the crime, that you would be surprised in the criminal justice system how misunderstood you can be. That is something that is shocking to me, how misunderstood I can be in those situations. But what I find, past and present, that in my moments when things like this happen, if I stay the course, if I continue to be who I am, things start to bend back into place to where they're supposed to be. And the right people sometimes show up. And the ones who are the wrong people, they'll start to soften up. There's a lot of ums and uhs in this, and I'm realizing that now, but I'm just coming off the top of my head, so the quality's not going to be great as far as the poignancy of this video, but if you find it interesting, good enough. All right, just a follow-up to last night. I slept really well, and today I feel like I'm on fire. Something broke loose last night, and I would be surprised if this wasn't the beginning of a meaningful phase of my life. Time to make my turn.